What's going on, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Dangerous Moose channel. And today we're going to be talking about some more Rainbow Six Siege content. And I'm still trying to process what just happened. I think Hoyo had 6 mental breakdowns and he's currently crying in a tub of yogurt ice cream at this point. I'm going to go check if he's okay. But Ubisoft just came out on their panel on the live stream and showed us their new game balance team. And by game balance, we mean just add recoil to everything team.
There are 3 additional ways that we're going to try to get her more in line with where she should be, closer to that sweet spot. The first one is we're going to increase the recoil a lot to make sure that she remains really strong at close encounters, but cannot be at such an advantage against attackers that have a long range or medium range against her. So the kick is going to be much stronger than it is right now. The second aspect of it is the damage of the gun is going to be lowered because when you look at the rate of fire of that gun compared to other guns that have high rate of fire like the Vector, it's pretty clear that it shouldn't have that high of a damage. It has way too much DPS. And then the third aspect of it is we're going to get rid of the impact grenades on her and replace it with a deployable shield so that she has to rely a lot more on the rest of her team to prepare her roaming strategy, and so that she cannot just like do the whole roaming work all by herself.
Fantastic. So it sounds like...
So we're finally getting the long-awaited Ela nerf that actually doesn't nerf the fundamentally broken part about Ela. All we're doing, once again, is just making her have more recoil and taking away her impact nades and replacing it with a deployable shield. Now, I don't understand how in the hell, after 4 nerfs, we still haven't really touched upon the big issue that is her gadget. I know they recently just changed it, so maybe that's why they're afraid to mess with it a little bit more. But literally the biggest issue with Ela is that her gadget makes you stop moving. Like, it unplugs your mouse, it turns off your sensitivity, you can't see, and then she just runs in and murders you. No matter how much recoil you actually add to her gun, it really doesn't matter because it was going to be used in close range anyways. It never had an ACOG on it, and most times it's run with a compensator so you can just spray at people who get hit by the Ela mine. So what does this really do? Nothing. You're just once again making her have more recoil and a gadget that you won't even use. Technically, by this standpoint now, what you're going to have is you're going to have an Ela mine now underneath some barbed wire, so then you're going to have an even worse time because you're going to be stuck in the barbed wire as well as the Ela mine. So the whole point now of them even changing the whole sprint mechanic thing will probably still be a bigger detriment because now you'll always be jumping into barbed wire as top of being hit by an Ela mine. So once again, there's really no balance to Ela. It was completely pointless, and she's still just going to be as strong as ever, just with more recoil. So if you guys can't pull down on your mouse or your sticks on console, well, clearly I don't know what else to say. So yeah, and even at that point, you can always just run her shotgun with the extended barrel, because that thing still chews up people with no problem.
The percentage of kills made with a secondary weapon of Ibana, so the Bearing 9, as opposed to sledges, so the SMG-11.
Even without the ACOG, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, like, as a smoke man, this is very offensive. Just remind me of that. Yeah, so this is what we did. We looked, compared to someone else who was fine, like the SMG-11, I think we can all agree that this is a good weapon. And so we saw that she made twice as many kills with her secondary than sledges. And when you go to high levels of players, like diamond players, you see that almost a third of the kills made by Ibana are made with the Bearing 9, which is huge. So we are going to do a small nerf to that gun in one of the next patches, probably coming like 1.2.
So the next thing that came up in the point was a nerf to Hibana. I can see why they want to nerf Hibana. Maybe she's a little bit too powerful for their liking and stats team. Sure. The problem with the way they're going about the nerf is they're nerfing her secondary weapon, the Bearing 9 SMG. Now, nerfing weapons isn't a problem. The problem is that when you nerf one weapon, the statistics usually carry over for every other operator that has that same gadget, which is Echo, or weapon I should say, not gadget, which is Echo. So if Echo's Bearing 9 now does, or has more recoil, where he potentially needed that for his close range engagements and potential headshots, you're just making it harder for an operator that already struggled with trying to defend himself being a one-speed operator. So, once again, nerfing operators is fine and changing them is fine, but you have to remember the other operators within Consequence 2 that will be affected like this for Echo. So now Echo's going to receive a nerf, one he didn't even really need. Of course, his MP5 still is pretty decent, but we're really going to have to see now how this will change the meta. Maybe Echoes now will just start running hollows, and they'll run his pistol because, hey, you never really know. But yeah, it really is unfortunate. Hopefully it's not that too drastic of a nerf, because it's just a real unfortunate punishment for Echo. And Hibana's then even not directly being nerfed if you're just only nerfing her SMG, because her assault rifle's so freaking good as it is. It has a long reload, sure, but yeah, that's not really a direct nerf, especially because the distance they were pointing, and how like powerful she was in comparison to Thermite. All of a sudden, as you saw, there's been some edited clips in here of essentially them talking about how they're nerfing and changing the operators before I've talked here. But yeah, it seems really stupid that that's as far as they're going for actually changing the operators. So there was also, of course, the necessary talk of changing Castle.
His art overage, it can even be detrimental to your team if you don't play it right. So we're going to investigate a bunch of things to make him work better, and we already checked a few ideas.
So real quick, you've noticed that even at pro level play on a really organized team on some maps, some bomb locations, Castle can be integral to a defense. But at the majority of matchmaking,
well, this guy who's asking the questions just like stated the best thing
to the teams that select him.
Yes, and we want to make all the operators viable ultimately. So we want to bring everyone closer to that sweet spot we showcased. So we want to make Castle an interesting pick for everyone.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned that your team's been working on some things. Can you tell us maybe some of the ideas that you've all had to potentially bring Castle into a more streamlined meta?
Yeah, we tried a few things already. We tried to remove the amount of gadgets that can break the Castle gadget, but it was not enough. And we're also looking into ways to make the barricades less harmful for your team if they are not placed correctly. But we're still working on it, and you can expect more information on that at a later point in the future.
All right, fantastic.
So the funny thing now about watching them is you're going to learn very quickly about why it's very difficult to change Castle by buffing or nerfing him, because he deploys a barricade. So the things they want to look into is less ways for the barricade to be destroyed, and it not be as obstructive for the people on your team, the defending team, which is fair. There's plenty of pro league strats right now where they'll punch the barricade a couple times if they make it used as an extension of a wall for a rotation hole. So if they need to get out, they just whack it, boom, it's open, it's ready to go. Sure, if you want, that's not like the worst strat in the world, but it is a thing. So sure, Castle could use some buffs, but the only really logical thing we could really see is that maybe it takes a couple of sledgehammer hits, or maybe Sledge can't break it anymore, takes more grenade impact. Essentially, don't change the breaching charge element, so leave Ash, and breaching charge is fine, so Zofia will need to have 2 impact nades hit it, potentially, or and things along those lines. Just essentially make it more blast resistant. And one thing I kind of would like to see is maybe you can't fuse ball through it. That'd be a great way to block off fuse and essentially allow Mute to block off other windows too, to not have him frag out rooms. That'd be a great extension, which would make Castle a lot more powerful of an operator, but fundamentally not change who he is. So if you just kind of in a lower tier play and you got a guy who grabs a castle and locks down some windows, at least he's not being completely useless. He's still being useful, and it helps in the long run too. I think that's a great way to buff Castle. It's definitely possible to buff Castle, but there won't be any drastic changes that we're going to see come out from that. So yeah, so that's pretty much the major focal points of it. Tell me what you guys think of these nerfs and buffs. I'm really disappointed that apparently this whole team they now specialize is literally just increased recoil or decreased recoil. And clearly they're not taking into effect of the real issues. Like, once again, Ella's mine is the issue of why she's picked so much. Sure, her gun can be powerful, but it's a game with one-shot headshots. Just shoot her in the head if that's really your issue. The issue is that when the mine unplugs your mouse or your controller, or whatever you play with your Donkey Kong bongos, I don't know what you play Siege with, man. At that point, it's like that's the problem, not her gun. So yeah, anyways, tell me what you guys think once again of everything that's been changed. Hope you guys are enjoying the pro circuit, and then tomorrow we'll find out some more information on Lion and Finca. So stay tuned for that coming live, and we'll see you 6 Piece next episode. Peace.